Hey YouTube, what's up? This is the Reluctant Nabi back again, and this is going to be commentary, a little bit of spiritual stuff. All right. So first, let me greet everybody. Oh, and don't forget, please like and share my videos. Please share, very very important. Um, and so I'm coming up with a couple of brain things to try to facilitate easier way to travel, right? And so basically, I'm trying to think of a way to help out with um, visas and some passport fees, right? So that could only happen if I build up enough from this from people sharing the videos. All right, donations help, but I realize that a lot of us black men, we have to pay a lot of child support, this, that, and the other, right? Take care of home and stuff. And unless I'm doing like a couple of things um where I'm doing like real community things, I don't put my donation thing up a lot, right? In this case, I might put my donation link up, but what is more important is views. And I would prefer to get the views from people sharing the videos, right? So share on Twitter, Snapchat, um, uh, all the rest of that stuff. Just please share the videos and, of course, watch them. The dudes that, I got some dudes that come by and complain about the commercials. Y'all, that's how the community is being blessed. Like, and I'm at the point where I only deal with the children, right? So, first, let me say, hola, gouda, oi to the bay, Vasses los, bonjour mes amis, bonjour mes amis, kedu bawani, konnichiwa, ni hao ma, sani bonani, jambo habaragani, assalamu alaikum, shalom, guten tag to my brother out there. Um, and okay, that hits all of it, right? So this one I'm like divide and conquer. This is a follow up on my Ethiopia video that I just put up. Is there beef between Ethiopia and African Americans? And then I am doing one more. It'll be the Nigerians, the background of the Nigerians, and it will be. I on that one I'm able to get some of the views, some of the impressions, and I am able to take things from there with the views and impressions of uh, some of the Nigerians that I know that are friends and stuff. And um, this is a complex issue. It's a, it's a complex issue. Now, basically, I'm featuring discussions that people are having in their particular threads. And the guys that are really saying something in the beginning of the thread, there's a bunch of y'all that are, but I can only deal with a few at a time. And for my longtime subscriber, I'm gonna have him up, and y'all all know him, the white. So, got his take on it, cause this guy, he's in Europe. Another guy that I have that's in Europe. All right, and I think they will bring another facet or another point of view to the discussion, right? So, is this divide and conquer, right? And against Africans versus African Americans. And are the wounds self inflicted on either side? All right. And we have, as one of the biggest issues we have, is getting our impression of each other from the viewpoint of the white men who went in And see, they didn't just conquer, right? They went in on a slide, not in like major battles until they decide to steal stuff. All right. But they went in and preached and taught lies, right? And then many other Africans and African Americans became the carriers of said lies. The rigid religion, the Christian religion, is the worst. It's something that teaches you that you are close to somebody by what faith you have versus your customs. See, there's a difference between a faith and a custom. Believe it or not, people, the commandments are a custom. It's not a matter of faith. It's like, if you do this, then this should happen. Don't do this or else this. Right? It's a custom of how you live. The Jesus thing is a faith thing. Well, I'm not going to deal with you if you don't believe in my Jesus. You know, this is the proverbial reason why a lot of black women will not get with a good black man, but they'll go marry a racist white man or have racist white men as boyfriends, as evident in a lot of the videos. But a good black man, no. They'll get a thug. They'll get a player. Why can't they get the player? Because the player don't care anyway. The player know the game. He'd be like, okay, I'll tell you what I'm just going to do. All I'm going to do is I'm going to just play this game with her. Say I'm yeah, Jesus, go to church every once in a while, and then fill it full of a whole bunch of thuglet children that he don't want, that she thinks she want because she thinks she can hold on to him and her white Jesus. Oh, and by the way, it's a white Jesus, and that white image destroys the mentality minds of black peoples everywhere. Oh, and it does another thing. Make black people their own worst enemy. And by black people, I'm talking melanated people. All right. Now, I put the video up is because I'm good at figuring out where some people are by looking at their faces. Right? And I see a lot of black people that I know were born here, are from here. They're people from here. They look like Ethiopians. I see people that look like South Africans. I see people that look like many places on the continent of Africa. This means that we were cherry picked from the continent and brought over here as slaves. Right? Not only that, the indigenous black folks to the United States were turned into slaves. And they used the lighter skinned indigenous Indian folks to subdue the black folks. Only a few Indian tribes said, oh, I'm not going to go for that. That's why some Indian tribes met harsher penalties than others. All right. So there were black Native Americans, and that's the big American secret. That's why they try to keep our history so hidden from us. All right. So you got black Americans from that were descended from the continent of Africa, and black Americans that were descended from the continent of North and South America. And the white people, what they did is they pit everybody against each other. All right. Now, before I get into this, just because the white people pit you against each other, don't mean that you should have been against each other. Just because white people make a law saying that it's an unjust law, like child support, right? I use this for a reason. A woman, what she usually does, as soon as she finds out she's pregnant, a black woman runs to the court system to put that man on child support so that she could get his money. Right? At no point does that man have a chance to be a father. He's not given that, he's not afforded that opportunity. Right? Now, this is what I mean by this. The black community would have been healthier had the black women just simply not did that. They didn't have to do that. They wanted to do that because they were saying cha-ching, cha-ching, cha-ching. Right? Not only that, they once they did it, when they came to their senses, they could have went and had child support done away with and freed up a lot of men. Do you know what that would have made men? A lot happier with the black woman. It would have made men want to be more involved with the black woman and the child. But now, what she's created is an enemy that no man in his right mind should go near a black woman for anything. Not a westernized black woman, even if she did come from Africa, because now they understand the game. All right. So I use that as an example of stuff. Just because white people make a law for you to enslave somebody, for you to be ill at somebody, don't necessarily mean you have to follow their way. And basically what happened is white people went in, and a lot of Africans and some African Americans saw exploitation means in the laws and in the ways and in the teachings that the white people set up, which they kind of knew that at the heart some people were going to be evil. And so now you got this enmity created between the Africans versus the African Americans. All right. And the Africans, their issue with African Americans, well, we're against you because you don't know your history, right? You don't know where you came from before slavery, right? And we're figuring that out. But the beef that Americans, the African Americans have with the Africans is, yeah, but we know your history before slavery. We know how you sold us into slavery, helped the white people kidnap us, and bring us over to this continent. Right? The white people could not have done what they did on such a mass scale without the collusion of the black people helping them. All right. Remember, the slave trade was kidnap and selling. All right. And it's something that the Africans cannot deny, as much as African Americans cannot deny being slaves here in America. So neither can deny their part in it. And we can't deny some of the stuff that African Americans did here in America as part of this slave system. All right. Now, I'm going to start off with Marcus Graham. He said, I implore and challenge all of you. If you want to know what's really real about our brothers and sisters over in Africa, go there and experience it for yourself. Now, and I agree with him on this, except that he misses this, right? That the impression that black people have of Africans are from the African themselves once they come over to the United States. All right. And I'll show you what I mean. Now, if you do, you will be left there with three basic thoughts. One, what you thought you knew was BS. Now, that's true. Two, the way you formed your opinion was based on BS. That may be true. You're going to stop listening to others' BS and find out for yourself from that day forward. Right? He goes, hint one, Africans here in the U.S. Here we go. The big fig Newton, as my brother, the baptized scribe would say. Africans here in the U.S. are nothing like the Africans over there. Number two, even the Africans over there have a problem with the behavior of the Africans once they get over here. This may go into my other philosophy about why a lot of people come here. They change into something that only a westernized society can do to a people of good character and moral standing. Investigate and get your own answers. You'll thank me for this advice. And that's why I put this comment up here, number one. I talked with a couple of sisters. I'm gonna shout out Carol because she, um, I see she's prolific in right in the comment section, right? And I was saying, do you notice that this is where people come when they want to sin? And I'm serious. Y'all think about that for a minute. Everybody that comes here leaves a society where they have standards of femininity, standards of masculinity, standards of responsibilities, all right, standards of how you do business for people, standards on how you share, right? But when many Africans come here, or many people that come here from other countries, they come here so they could do evil. All right. Now, I would dare to say this. The standards in Africa and some of the places where you still have indigenous people, like even down in South America, the standards are still based on the commandments, meaning that homosexuality is wrong. And this is why Obama tried to force it down the throat of some African countries, right? The way you usury is wrong, stealing is wrong. People were telling stories, do not steal in Ghana. If they say stop thief, people will dive on your behind and stop your behind. You don't steal from people. Up here, stealing is like culture. People make a career out of it, especially family. All right. And so basically, here's the breakdown. All right. And so, hint number one, he goes, Africans in the U.S. are nothing like the Africans over there. Even Africans over there have a problem with the behavior of Africans once they get here. They change into something that only a westernized society can do to a people of good character and moral standing. Investigate and get your own answers. And you'll thank me for this advice. Now, here's a problem. Going to Africa is prohibitively expensive, especially once you get there. Some people, their hotels are just way too high, right? And so that's something that we can bring over there, that kind of common knowledge, right? Better marketing on hotels and things like that, right? Now, the rest of these comments kind of fit, right? Africans, so Joe Sinjak said African thinks they're better. They walk and they talk like their SH don't stink. There needs to be some reconciliation, but it will have to be wanted from both sides. The cooning will have to stop. All right. John H. says that they come with the same views of that white supremacist. You understand? And so we got Marcus Graham, excellent comment. All right. And then we got these guys. Now, maybe there's a picture that's starting to open up. Right? Um, we got Black Cherubim. He said, I live in D.C. and there's no beef, but many East Africans don't like to be associated with West Africans or Black Americans. But there are some exceptions. Ethiopians give light-skinned Black Americans more respect. This is all based on age and what part of America you live in around Ethiopians. Some younger Ethiopians dress and talk like Black Americans, but many don't want to be associated with Black Americans. They give whites more respect, but it's about business to them. The SH is deeper than that. But to sum it up, their views come from white supremacy. Okay, now this is something that a lot of Black Americans have, and this is why I put Ethiopians Make the first one about Ethiopians. All right, because I had mixed feelings myself. And I wondered, I mean, what's the deal here? Right? You would think that spiritually we are better linked, but then again, we may not be. All right, but still, there's a lot of Ethiopian looking people of Ethiopians ancestry that are over here, that were kidnapped and brought over here, right? And so basically, basically, the Ethiopians are not full Ethiopians in that white people mix with them. It's the same way that they mixed with us over here. In many parts of Africa, that might be the case. All right. But like Ghana, South Africa, and stuff, that they still can be identified as black. Ethiopians had a lot of mixing going on because they were at one time very, very dark. All right. So we got my boy Dwight Hayes. It has been my experience that Ethiopians and other Africans will oftentimes only identify with North American blacks Pan-Africanism when it serves them a social or economic benefit. I'm iffy when it comes to Ethiopia. I say this because during my encounters with Ethiopians here in Europe, and after all their history, Europe, Europe invasion, occupation, manipulation, and war foisted upon them and their neighbors, they still maintain a Euro-white value system, and they foist this mentality upon other neighboring black peoples in East Africa as well as North American blacks. Never forget the fact that Ethiopians also have a history of selling other blacks into slavery to Indians, Persians, Egyptians, Turks, and Arabs. Okay? Now, Sunset um, Milinove says this: these Ethiopians have brought their ways to the U.S. They believe that African Americans are inferior and should live like them. Yet Ethiopians is upside down politically and economically, and have been so for several thousand years. Some Ethiopians in Saudi Arabia have kicked out a group of Ethiopians in South Africa, kicked out, and a group of Ethiopians and South Africans have been burned out. How can someone from a third world country migrate to another country, then have their noses up in the air with an air of superiority? Please, somebody explain. Now, Hidden Truth comes back with this one. Me personally, as a real black American born on U.S. soil, I could give a F if most Africans if most African migrants, like me or not, they don't understand the black American struggle. They thrive for white acceptance and smile for white people. Oh, and here it lies the problem, right? Which goes back to the first thing, very first comment. And here, right here, it lies the issue. Right here. That black Americans have the strongest rejection of needing white man's approval than most people on the planet as a result of what white people did to us. So what this means is many of the people that are indigenous to their lands can learn from us. I said it before. Our culture that we created from nothing is the most exported thing in the world. And you could put a monetary value on it too. Black hip hop, black American, black soul, black male identity is the most exported. People breakdancing, people now, stuff is just going around. People dub stepping, right? And black have the talent of incorporating what they see from others and make it their own. All right. And so what's happening is you got hip hop everywhere, and you got our hip hop everywhere. All right. Some bad, some good. But nevertheless, this is the pull that the black American has on the rest of the world, in that we are so exported for our talents. And when you look at it, it's because of our business acumen from nothing. From nothing. From 400 years of being stripped of knowledge and education, when we get it, we advance it in such a way that that the Caucasian here decide to strip us again. All right. The thing that did us in was our own black women in the 70s when they bought into the supremacy, and it destroyed our education. It destroyed black manhood. It destroyed everything that builds a black community. Feminism did to the black community what nothing else could do. And even in the midst of that, we still develop a, a culture of music parlaying on the backs of funk masters like Parliament, P-Funk, Ohio Players, James Brown. All right. Um, we we had music that elevated the consciousness like Earth, Wind, and Fire. That was speaking of things, putting pyramids in the background, all right, on albums and stuff like that. And you know these guys were somewhere else, right? And so basically, people take our stuff, but don't like to give credit to it, and then they take things that white people didn't do and give them credit for that, like discovering America when people are already here. Um, they get credit for naming Africa Africanus, right? From a dude who that's not what the continent was called until white people got there. All right. So this dude, he goes on to see. They come here to America, sucking up every resource and handout in America, and have a privilege most black Americans don't have or see. They are considered model minorities. Most Africans, Ethiopians, Somalis, or whatever should be worried about me like not liking them. And yes, they are very passive and uppity and snobby towards most black Americans. Hell, I live in Seattle where this SH is epic, and a floodgate for these privileged Africans. Just calling it how I see it, people. And just my opinion. Thanks. All right. So is the beef real? Um, yes, there's beef. But these comments from the first guy and the rest of these fellas kind of open things up to maybe why that is. It also may also it also may make Ghana look very much more welcoming. Remember, we had a lot to go through, and people need to recognize. With that said, I'm out.